Well, hi, train friends. I'm Bill B., and welcome to the Ozark Midland Southern Railway. I'm glad you're here. As you can see in the video's thumbnail, I've been busy making twisted wire trees for the final part of my OMNS backdrop project. Those trees, as well as some varied store-bought trees, will be used to create a forested area above the rock face, which you may recall we colored in part 3. In this photo, the tape measure shows the challenge I am trying to meet. I have just over an inch width in which to create the illusion of a forested area along and behind the rock face. This is not something I've really done before, so it's an experiment. We're going to see how this all turns out. Before I proceed to show you what I did and share with you how it all turns out, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to all of you, the channel subscribers. I especially want to give a warm welcome to all the channel's new subscribers. Just about 3 weeks ago, the channel achieved 1,000 subscribers after several friends gave me shout outs for the channel. I would especially like to thank Chris of RBP Trains, Matt and Matt of Matt and Matt O-Scale Trains podcast, Jason of JD Stucks, Chris of Chris's Trains and Things, Maddie C of Maddie C Trains, and last but not least, Tony of the Rambles. I would like to thank each of these fellows for promoting the channel with their very kind words. I hope that the channel and I can live up to all of it. Links to their channels will be in the video's description, and they've all got great channels. And if you're not familiar with them, I would encourage you to check them out. Now let me show you what I've accomplished with the backdrop, and I hope you'll let me know what you think in the comments section below. So let's go check it out. So as we get started, I want to mention that to help move the video along, you will find that I have fast-forwarded many of the scenes which show the work in progress. So here I am on top of the layout, getting my tools and materials ready. These include cutting tools, paintbrushes, a pen vise, and a pair of tweezers. I also relied heavily upon Woodland Scenic glue and Aleene's Turbo Tacky glue. My first step in creating my forested backdrop is to glue on some simulated tree trunks made out of sticks from the backyard. You can see I painted them a very dark brown. Next, I adhered a thin mat of foliage material directly to the painted foam board backdrop. I made the flexible mat by placing a stretched out layer of black polyfiber between 2 pages of newspaper. I then proceeded to iron the polyfiber with the iron set at a very low temperature. I then sprayed some Elmer's multi-purpose spray adhesive on one side of my flattened polyfiber. I next sprinkled on a light layer of Woodland Scenic's dark green coarse turf. I repeated this step several times until I got the right texture and depth. After the layers of adhesive and coarse turf were dry, I spray painted the glued-on coarse turf a dark forest green in a somewhat splotchy pattern. With the mats in hand, I placed them up against the backdrop in an effort to determine how best to cut them to make them fit the contours of the backdrop. I then proceeded to cut them into several pieces and to glue them in place. After gluing them in place using Scenic glue, I stretched several remaining small pieces and used them to hide the seams to create a more cohesive look. I used Elmer's multipurpose spray adhesive to do that. Now it is time to begin gluing in place some flattened deciduous trees and some treetops made out of twisted copper wire with some polyfiber and various leafy materials from Knock glued on. I'm using Aleene's turbo tacky glue to hold the trees in place. Here you see the homemade treetops that I'm going to apply along the top edge of the foam board backdrop. They are going to help deepen my forested area. In the case of the treetops, I just push them right into the foam board. In most cases, add a little tacky glue to kind of hold them in place. It is time now to apply some thatch, where the back of the rock face and the foam board backdrop come together. Here I am gluing in place some Woodland Scenic's briar patch. I'll also add some Martin Welberg Scenic Studios bushes to the scene. These will help add some fullness to the forested scene and also, I believe, help promote the illusion of depth. With the thatch and bushes in place, it's now time to begin planting some trees. In this photo, you see some twisted wire trees in various shapes and sizes. Some of the trees I made, and others were made by JTT Scenery Products. The pine trees are made by Eve Models and purchased off of eBay. Later, you will see some cedar trees of different sizes made by Aubrey Van Houten of Moberly, Missouri. With Aubrey's permission, you will find his contact information in this video's description. With the large trees in place, it's time to plant some small trees, bushes, and vines, like those typically seen on the bluffs and rock cuts throughout much of the Ozarks. In case you were wondering, the vines and the bushes associated with them are homemade using a technique I saw on the Trackside Scenery channel on YouTube. In the video titled How to Budget Vines and Bushes, Joey Ricard thoroughly describes his technique. A link to the video is in the description. If you study the photos here, you will see the products and the materials I use to make my bushes and vines. I just want to mention that the blue material you see in the photo is fiberglass taken from a relatively inexpensive home furnace filter. Here I am continuing to place some small deciduous trees as well as some small cedar trees on and at the bottom of the rock face above the retaining wall. As I bring this video to a close, I am going to continue to work on this area for a bit. Here is where we started at the beginning of this video. Here was my challenge at the start, to create a forested effect in the only space available, which had a width of just over 1 inch. Aside from a little additional tweaking left to do, here is my completed backdrop. So what do you think? Mission accomplished? Please let me know in the comments section below. I can tell you that my overriding thought right now is, now I can put my railroad back together and again run some trains. So until we meet again on the OM&S, take care. And remember, the OM&S is pulling for you. I'm Bill B. Bye now.